Good evening. First, let me explain why I'm wearing this uniform. I've been a Civil War reenactor for 27 years and a student of American history for twice that time. And when Ed Gallagher was looking for people to do Bethlehem Moments, and I saw what month and what day I would do it, I knew exactly what I would speak about tonight. Bethlehem's Moravian history is well known, and its preserved buildings, the Gemein House, Single Sisters House, Single Brothers House, and the Colonial Industrial Quarter, to name a few, have earned the Moravian Historic District the distinction of consideration as a World Heritage Site. Bethlehem's place in the Revolution is enshrined in the Patriot graves memorialized in the tomb of the unknown Revolutionary War soldier. The Moravians were pacifists in principle and were recognized as such by the Continental Congress. Most of the men paid a fine rather than fight. By the time of the Civil War, though, attitudes had changed, and many a Bethlehem boy willing to fight against a rebellion against constitutional authority stepped forward to serve in the Union Army. The Synod of the Church passed several resolutions indirectly supporting the Union cause, effectively making it a just war. The firing on Fort Sumter in April 1861 led to Lincoln's call for 75,000 volunteers to serve 90 days, and Company A, 1st Regiment Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry, drawn from Bethlehem, was quickly formed and sent to Washington to protect the capital. Pennsylvania answered Lincoln's call for additional troops as the war progressed and the conflict widened by filling 3-year regiments and shorter-term 9-month regiments. Among those regiments was the 129th Regiment Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry. Company C of the 129th was recruited in Northampton County and included many Bethlehem men. The regiment was organized on August 15, 1862 to serve for 9 months. Politicians wanted to avoid a draft at all costs and calculated that shorter service commitments would be easier to fill than 3 years or during the war. After being hastily armed and equipped, Company C and trained to Alexandria, Virginia, arriving on August 18th. 2 weeks later, it was under fire during the Battle of Second Bull Run, but not really engaged in combat. 2 weeks after that, the regiment marched to Sharpsburg, Maryland, arriving on the field along Antietam Creek, but too late to participate in that fighting. At the end of October, the 129th marched into Virginia until it arrived opposite Fredericksburg. On December 13th, the regiment crossed the Rappahannock River with its division marching through the town to its assault position in full view of an open field. Advancing, the brigade, which included the 120th Regiment, halted in low open ground and was ordered to lie down, where it came under artillery fire. Rising up, the division formed in line of battle with the brigade in 2 lines and the 129th Regiment on the left front. This was the regiment's trial by fire, experiencing serious action for the first time as it advanced over open ground, over the bodies of the dead and wounded, in the face of incessant musketry and artillery fire toward an enemy behind a stone wall. In a matter of minutes, the regiment lost 142 killed and wounded. Among them were the sons of old Bethlehem families such as Benner and Leckenbach. We should pause to consider the courage it took to make that charge, knowing full well that the 5 previous charges were driven back with heavy losses. They went forward with fixed bayonets without waiting to load their muskets, intent on giving the Confederates the cold steel. The division succeeded in getting closer to the stone wall than any other federal assault. Caps from the 129th Regiment were found within a few yards of the stone wall. Those Bethlehem boys had seen the elephant and showed their mettle. Retreating in semi-darkness into the town, the regiment would cross the river under fire and went into camp. After suffering the misery of Burnside's mud march in January 1863, the 129th took part in the Battle of Chancellorsville, fighting on May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 1863, even though the term of service of many of the men had expired. The regiment's term of service having fully expired on May 6th, the remains of Company C arrived in Easton on May 18th to the welcoming arms of its citizens. All of the Company C men who were killed or wounded during the 9-month service suffered their fate at Fredericksburg. Later that summer of 1863, the Federal troops at Gettysburg, crouched behind a stone wall on Cemetery Ridge, cried out, "Fredericksburg, Fredericksburg," as Pickett's division advanced across an open field into a storm of bullets and artillery fire. Thank you for that. And the only other thing I'd like to add is today is one of the days of the Battle of the Bulge. It's the 75th anniversary. And on this day, 75 years ago, my father-in-law, Harold A. Miller, captain in an anti-aircraft battery, was fighting for his life along with many, many other Americans. And it would be well to keep them in mind. There are so few of them left now. I have no doubt there were men from Bethlehem who fought in that, and we should thank them all for their service.
Thank you, Bob. We have